Avocados should not exist. And I don't mean because I hate avocados. I mean scientifically, they shouldn't be a thing. They shouldn't exist anymore. They should have become extinct tens of thousands of years ago. Buckle up, adults. We're going to science class. Get your ass in the bus. So if y'all didn't know it, avocados are one of the only leftover plants that megafauna would actually eat. If you guys don't know what megafauna is, it's giant animals, kind of like a giant ground sloth that were huge, that actually could tunnel out whole cave systems in South America. If you ain't seen that shit, it's wild. Go look it up. Giant caves dug out by giant sloths. These giant sloths were so big that actually scientists used to give credit to these underground tunnel systems to humans because they thought nothing could have made something like this until we found out it was the giant ground sloth. Incredible creatures. So why does that affect avocados existing today? And it's because the seed is too big for most animals to poop out of their tiny buttholes. Okay, so an avocado seed is massive, right? How most plants work is an animal eats the berries. They're eating the berries, they're eating the apples, and then they go poop out the seeds other places. An avocado seed is too big to pass, not to mention that avocado seeds are poisonous to most animals. In fact, a lot of animals can't eat avocados, at least not a large amount of them. So, like, animals aren't just, like, going to get the avocados out of the way like they would go and get other plants and vegetables and different things to eat. And most of the creatures that do like the avocados enough to eat them actually are pretty small, like squirrels and like the South American possums. So they actually don't move the avocado very far from the place they plucked it. They mostly eat it right there. So the spread of the avocado should be limited. So scientists are perplexed on what is moving the seeds around to make them exist. And in fact, they think that in the next few thousand years, if people don't avocado farm like we're obviously doing right now, that avocados will cease to exist. But because humans love them so much, it looks like the plant's going to survive for a long, long, long time. But that is why avocados used to be so expensive, because unlike today, when like apples and blueberries and blackberries that are grown on all kinds of farms, before there was an abundance of avocado farms, there didn't really have a lot of them out in the wild to gather to sell to humans. So avocados used to be incredibly expensive, just like pineapples actually used to be a sign of wealth. If you guys didn't know that, pineapples used to cost thousands and thousands of dollars for one pineapple, and people would display them at dinner parties, not to eat, but as like a decorative flex of like, look how like I am, because pineapples keep for a long time, and there's actually pineapple leasing companies where you could lease a pineapple for your party, return it undamaged, get part of your money back, and the company would lease the pineapple again to another party. I don't know why we're talking about pineapples right now, but that is an equally cool plant to talk about. Pineapples also don't grow in trees, they grow in bushes. Like, the whole pineapple essentially is the plant. It's really cool. To end this video off, avocados are dangerous. Like, they are the most dangerous fruit out there. And what I mean by that is more people hurt themselves cutting avocados than all of the other fruits combined, because they hit the knife on the little seed and then it glances off and hits them in the thumb. There is like so many avocado reported injuries at hospitals. It is ridiculous. Like, it doesn't sound real. So you don't have to Google it. It's about 9,000 hospital visits a year are reported. And that doesn't even count the minor injuries that didn't need the hospital. So 9,000 hospital visits a year from cutting avocados. Let me break it down for you. That's an average of about 25 visits per day to hospitals around the U.S. alone for avocado injuries. If you like this weird, obscure information, follow the page, because we do it all the time. These are the smelliest zoo animal poops I've had to clean. And just be lucky you're getting a video today, guys, because it is hot out here. First up on the list is foxes. The North American red fox, which is the animal we have the most of. We've got like 50 of them. They have putrid smelling pee and feces. In fact, red foxes are the #1 rehomed exotic pet in North America because of how bad they smell when they use the bathroom. People don't realize this. They get them as pets. They will literally run you out of your house. Fox urine, which is called urine farming, actually used to be collected and used in stink bombs. It's still collected to this day on urine farms. It is awful. That being said, any meat eater that likes to eat its meat slightly decaying, such as like foxes, hyenas, coyotes, things that are scavengers, their poop is on a whole nother level. Their shit is awful. It smells so bad, okay? When they're eating on those dead carcasses, and then their body processes it, and then they poop it out. Think about how bad poop smells and how bad decay smells. Now, just combine those. So pretty much like any scavenger type animal is, ugh. That brings us to any kind of cat, bobcats, jaguars, lions, tigers. They ingest large amounts of taurine, which makes their feces and urine smell atrocious. It is a weird superpower that I have. When me and my wife, when we go to the zoos and stuff, because we do this every day, when we go visit zoos, we know what animals we're about to see because of the poop and pee smells that we can smell before we can get there. We don't need no map. I'm just like, Oh, lions are that way. Oh, rhinoceroses are that way. Oh, canines are that way. You know, it's a weird party trick. I'm not proud of it, but it is a skill I have. Next up is elephant. Elephant poop actually doesn't smell that bad, but they can produce so much poop, it's not even funny. One adult elephant can produce 200 to 250 pounds of that manure every single day. So imagine you're taking care of 3, 4, 5 or more of them. That's up to 1,000 pounds real quick of poop you got to shovel and move every single day. Which brings me to my next point. A lot of people think that being a zookeeper is like a really cool job. Like, oh, I can work with lions or monkeys or tigers, whatever. No, you're going to work with one of those things. Like the elephant keepers are mostly just working with the elephants day in and day out. So they go in, they shovel elephant poop, spray down the elephant pee, feed the elephants, and then they go home. They do this on purpose. They don't want you moving around to different animals every day because they want you to get used to that animal's behavior and they want that animal to get used to you in return. So most zookeepers actually only take care of a small range of animals, not a plethora like you'd imagine. You might know Harry the emu. He has one of my least favorite poops out there because if you didn't know it, emu poop is the consistency of pudding, and it's pretty much the color of whatever they've been eating. So I've seen him have neon red poops, neon pink poops. That's, you know, if he's getting into the blueberries or the blackberries or whatever, he'll have these brightly colored wild poops. I can't tell you how many times when we first started this, I called the vet going, oh my God, my emu just pooped a rainbow. And they're like, that's cool. That's normal. It just clean it up. And it's like, it's so hard to shovel up because it's just pudding. It just runs everywhere. All right, to round off this video, we're going to do our boars, okay? Our boars, after, like, people donate pinto beans, like, specifically. People donate us, like, produce all the time, and, like, they'll be like, oh, we had some leftover beans the other night, and they'll bring this giant crock pot of beans, and I'm like, oh, my God, I know the pigs love those beans, but I know what tomorrow's going to look like when we got to clean that area up. Pinto bean day is just, woo, that's a rough day. People call out on that day. If you like this weird, obscure zookeeper information, follow the page. We do it all the time. Dalmatians are one of the strangest but most interesting dog breeds out there. You might not know that Dalmatians are one of the oldest dog breeds in history, and they can have crazy amounts of health issues as well, with about 30% of them being deaf or almost deaf. There's a joke in the Dalmatian world that when you're going to pick out your Dalmatian puppy, you should clap your hands and see which one turns to respond, because if they don't, they're probably one of the deaf ones. And here's my favorite Dalmatian. His name is Mr. Bo. Now, my cousin's deaf, so I don't think we should discriminate against deaf people. But the reason why people don't want the deaf Dalmatians is because you might have heard that Dalmatians can be really aggressive, because mostly the ones that are deaf can be more aggressive because they surprise them all the time. They don't hear you coming and you touch them, they kind of snap. The ones that show the aggression issues are mostly the ones that have that deafness. So why are Dalmatians always associated with the fire department? Well, here's why. Back when water tanks used to have to be carried by horse and wagon, Dalmatians actually have a natural affinity with horses that goes back thousands of years. So the Dalmatians help keep the horse calm when there's raging fires and people are running around panicking and screaming. The Dalmatians help keep the horse calm. It's actually really neat how Dalmatians were originally bred for situations like that, and also for long endurance hunts. Back in the Middle Ages, Dalmatians had a really interesting job. It was to actually guard the horse stables from thieves and robbers. Dalmatians have one of the highest endurance of any dog species. They might not be the quickest sprinters, but that's okay. They're going to make up for it in long distance. But on the downside, if you have a pet Dalmatian and do not have ample room for them to play, you'll notice they're always hyper because they never get tired. Historically, they might be the oldest purposely bred breed of dogs. The Egyptians even have old hieroglyphics of white spotted dogs that have black spots on them, just like what we see Dalmatians have today. Now, the neat thing about Dalmatian spots is they're not surface level. In fact, if you shave your German Shepherd, you know, no matter what the coat look like, all German Shepherds will look the same shaved. Dalmatians are not this way, though. Even their skin is spotted, and it's called pitting. So even their skin is spotted. If you open a Dalmatian's mouth, inside of their mouth they'll even have spots. But they're actually born with little to no spots. A Dalmatian puppy is born solid white, and they gain their spots as they get older. So it's almost impossible to know how many or how little spots your Dalmatian will have until it gets older. If you like this weird, obscure animal knowledge, then follow the page. We do it all the time. All right, everybody shut up and listen, because we're going straight to science class. And today, we're talking about foxes. More specifically, the October crazies. So what's the October crazies, you might ask? Well, I'm glad you did ask, because I wish you had shut up and listened to me, okay? Here it is. The October crazies is when a little fox like this one right here hits its first year of puberty. What they do in the wild is that's when their moms are like saying essentially, get away from me, get out of the house. I'm no longer taking care of you. Me and your father have talked about this and we are done. So essentially it's when you see juvenile foxes acting out. A lot of people are going to see them in their neighborhoods. In fact, we've been tagged and post like crazy the past few days of people saying, I see foxes in my neighborhood. What should I do? What should I do? You should leave them the hell alone is what you should do. Let them be foxes, okay? They ain't hurting nothing. They ain't going to kill your cat, okay? Get over it. Foxes like this are too cute to do all that. Now, they might go after your chickens. They will do that. But anyhow, October crazies, guys, getting back on subject here. They don't know what to do. They're like a teenager. They're like an 18-year-old kid out on their own for the very first time, okay? Because their mom and dad just gave them the boot. They're running around looking about like, where am I going to live? Am I going to live over there? Am I going to live in that ditch? Am I going to live under your house? Am I going to live in the woods? They're trying to figure that out. And that's a very important thing for them to figure out, guys, because foxes live in about a 2 to 10 square mile area for their entire lives. Okay, so they don't travel far. So these little foxes are just trying to figure out the best way to live, the best way to hunt, the best areas to do that. So you're going to see them out and about. And you might be saying, but Matt, it's only August. October crazies get that name kind of unfairly. It can start as early as August and go all the way through December, okay? The October crazies is just what it's called because that's the middle point and that's when it's in the peak season of that behavior. And it's not even a marking mating season. A lot of people think they're looking for mates. No, this is those adolescent years, okay? Foxes grow extraordinarily fast. If you didn't know it, foxes only have about a 3-day window which they can conceive and get pregnant. They're only pregnant for 50 some odd days, and their babies, once they're born, are full-grown adults by 6 months. So they go from getting pregnant, conceived, having the babies are full-grown adults in less than 8 months time period. It's incredibly fast. Those babies they have in the spring are going to be full-fledged adults by the fall. So that's why you're seeing that behavior right now. You might be seeing foxes run around your neighborhoods, or they might be in groups. Those are probably their siblings that they grew up with. But foxes are beautiful and extraordinary creatures, guys. Just leave them alone. Let them be foxes. Don't call your local game wardens. Don't try to go after them. Just let them be. They're just trying to figure things out. Give them a few months. They'll chill back out. You probably won't see them that much anymore. So just let them be, okay? That's the best advice I can give you about seeing foxes around your neighborhood.
Look at my little babies. Come here, my babies. Let's go over here. Come here.
Now, guys, if you didn't know it, we started...
Ow, that was my finger. Ow.
But guys, if you didn't know it, we rescued a lot of these guys from a fur farm. Some of them have been born here. We've had a lot of them as stranded pets. If you didn't know that foxes are the most commonly rehomed exotic pet in North America, they are, and it's mostly because of how bad they smell. Man, you came in with a power slide. Let me see that belly.
Oh, you getting jealous? Come here.
And it wouldn't be a complete video if we didn't boop the snoot. If you all like this cool animal knowledge from an expert that knows what they're talking about, follow the page. We'd love to see you around. You want to talk about one of the weirdest things in biology? It's called the Wallace Line. It's essentially an imaginary barrier that exists between these islands that kind of separates a lot of like Australia, Asian countries. And essentially everything on one side of the line is very definitive, like this kind of plants, these kind of animals. The other side of the line, even though the climates are damn near identical, just wildly different. Like, we can't figure out why there's an imaginary line. And this line goes through land, by the way, in some places. And within, like, a couple miles this way and a couple miles that way, everything is wildly different. Even though it's receiving the same amount of rainfall, the same temperatures, theoretically, it should be the exact same everything. But it's the only place in the world where there's a distinct, very different biodiversity going on each side of this line. It's one of the things we're studying right now to figure out is there some kind of electromagnetic field we're not picking up on that makes these plants and animals behave and evolve differently than these plants and animals. Like, for example, the left side of the Wallace Line has elephants. It has tigers, but no marsupials. The right side of the Wallace Line, kangaroos, wallabies, but no big cats, no big, land mammals like elephants. The best theory of this is if you follow the deep sea trench of the Wallace Line, there is a very massive tectonic plate right there, and they think that millions of years ago that was a physical barrier, and things did just come out differently on both sides, So even though it's not a barrier today, it's a barrier that's so rooted essentially in like the DNA makeup of the creatures of that part of the world. They're wildly different. Here's another wild example. Bali and Lombok, both Indonesian countries, are only 20 miles apart from each other. These are two islands, so they're both isolated, 20 miles apart from each other. Wildly different. Bali has the Indonesian, typical animals. Lombok has all of the Australian typical animals. They're 20 miles apart. But because that trench line, like we talked about, they might as well have been on two different parts of the world. And like I said, that whole tectonic plate thing is just a theory because birds should be able to go over that, right? Nope, the birds are wildly different on each side too. On the east side, you have woodpeckers, but no like parrots and stuff. On the west side, you do have parrots, but no like other typical birds like woodpeckers. Also, the west side has many kinds of monkeys that, a trek like that would be easy for them to make it over. East side, no monkeys. No. Which then points back to the theory of, is it an electromagnetic field issue? Are the birds not wanting to fly over that deep sea trench because there's something going on that we can't, pick up on? Like the reason why we have so many problems with the Bermuda Triangle. Like, is there just so many magnetic fields just bouncing off the walls? It messes with their migration patterns. It messes with their navigation. So they just avoid it. Just when y'all thought you had life figured out, you're wrong. I'm going to tell you that there's imposters among us in the fruit kingdom. Pop quiz. Is a banana a berry or not a berry? It's a berry. Is a strawberry a berry or not a berry? Not a berry. And it has actually nothing to do with the fruit itself. It's how it carries its seed. That's right. A strawberry is an aggregate. You get the point. Do some searching on your own here. All right. Now, raspberries and blackberries, also not a berry. Blueberry? Berry. Cranberries? Berries. Grapes? Berry. But tomato? That's not a berry. It is! And you all know how much I hate avocados, and they're berries. A kiwi is what's called a true berry. Kiwi don't play around. They're the real ones. And I don't care what you say about cucumbers and squash. Them suckers ain't berries. They're vegetables. Wrong! They're pepo berries. I didn't even know what a pepo berry was until I went into an internet deep dive just a minute ago. I feel like we need some kind of magic school bus science song about this. So let's try to cook one up real quick. If you think it's a berry, then it's not. If it doesn't look like it's possibly a berry, then it definitely is. All right, we need some work, okay? Help me out, guys. And if you like and comment on these videos, you better be following this page. Don't make me all hunt you down and shove these non-berries or berries in your mouth, okay? Like the page. We'll see you next time. Thank you for attending science class. In our lifetime, you might physically be able to speak with animals. Like, I'm talking your dogs and cats, folks. This is truly incredible. So sit your ass down, stop what you're doing, and let's go to science class. So several major organizations, including Google, the Wild Dolphin Project, and the Institute of Technology in Georgia, are actually making huge leaps and bounds in the field of AI deciphering of animal language, specifically dolphins and whales. And yes, we've known that dolphins and whales have been speaking to each other in a complex language for decades, but we didn't understand that they weren't just like saying generic things to each other. They were using very specific words. So for example, when your dog barks, it's really just kind of a generic thing, like going woof, woof, woof is essentially like alert, 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 okay? We don't know what the alert is, but they're saying like whales and dolphins might be like talking on frequencies using like words like the, tree, coral, very specific type of fish. Like, we're talking a complex language that has actually been decoded as more frequencies than our own language, meaning they might have more individual words than we have. Now, here comes the good old government, and why they're reasoning behind this, I don't really understand, but they say it's for the betterment of the animals. They want to shut these programs down. There's a lot of government entities that do not want us to be able to decipher an animal language. And I'm like, wow, why not? Like, I feel like we could coexist so much better if we could speak to each other and just have a more mutual respect for one another. But I'm thinking it has a lot to do with like religious beliefs and taking away a lot of our humanism, because like right now we are pretty sure that we're the only thing that has like complex thoughts and emotions and feelings as far as like scientifically goes. I know animals have feelings, they feel pain, they get sad, but I'm talking like as far as like complexities is what we think, we're leaps and bounds ahead of animals. So we think right now. I think these programs are not wanting us to figure that out, that animals are having just as complex social lives and stresses and worries and hopes and admirations as we are. And if that's the case, then immediately a lot more animal rights would be put into place, which could stop a lot of commerce and business. And that's a scary thought to think about, that the government would protect those things over the beautiful world and animals that we share, this earth with. For example, if we could overhear a conversation of a whale going, man, my buddy Hank the other day just got absolutely decimated on the east boating lane, that is used every day for commercial, business and travel. Well, at that point, it would be negligence of us to keep using that commercial lane, knowing that maybe that's their breeding ground or maybe that's their migration lane and stuff, because they're talking about it, right? And then it's a whole nother emotional level of like, they're aware of what's happening to them and they're sad about it. Okay. At that point, it brings it right up to human level, which I already think should be in consideration. Now, if we believe the rumors, for about 3 years now, they've been able to have full length conversations with a group of dolphins on the Atlantic Ocean, and in the Gulf of Mexico. But that's still just a rumor that's going around that company and circulating that thing. They're saying that they've only deciphered about 6,000 unique phrases that these, dolphins or whales are using. And they say it's more complex than that because just like in the human world, Africa, South America, United States, we all speak different languages. They were saying that like this pod of dolphins and that pod of dolphins speak two completely different sets of languages. So far, they're only making advances on that one pod that they're studying. Just think about how exciting that is. We know how fast technology moves. I mean, try explaining the internet to someone that was alive only 50 or 60 years ago. You couldn't even begin to explain what is currently the internet that everybody knows, including a small child. So imagine 40 or 50 years from now, if talking to your pet is just as normal as saying hello to your neighbor. Like, wow, like I cannot imagine, like that would be so cool. Like we have so many animals here that I would love to just talk to all day.
If you like all this weird, obscure animal knowledge, why aren't you following the page?
These are the cruelest zoo animals out there, the most ruthless, cold-blooded zoo animals, and what they'll do to themselves and each other.
Mama raccoons will break their babies' necks.
That's right. If a mama raccoon has a little den and she's got a bunch of babies in there and she feels threatened, she'll snap their necks and then throw them out. So the predators go after the dead baby it just threw out while she moves the rest of her children along. And she will do this with zero hesitation. In fact, when our raccoons have babies out here, we have to be real quiet around their enclosures so they just don't start neck snapping.
Foxes will bite their own legs off.
That's right. Foxes, if they get their tail, their feet, or anything hung in something or stuck in something like a trap, they will waste no time just biting that sucker off. And bobcats and a lot of other small creatures will do the same thing. We actually personally knew a bobcat that bit its own leg off after it's got its claws stuck in a couch cushion. That's insane stuff, and they waste no time doing it. That's like a 186-hour movie, James Franco stuff.
Alligators will dismember each other for no reason.
So feeding time at the zoo, you got to be careful throwing the food in because alligators, when you throw the food in, sometimes they'll grab another alligator's leg that is still part of that alligator and they'll start death rolling it and they'll just rip that leg off. The next time you go to the zoo and you see that they have a lot of alligators, count how many of them have all four legs. You'll almost always find one missing a leg. But the cruelest, most cold-hearted animal in the animal kingdom is yours truly. People are just awful and disgusting in so many ways. Love you guys and all the support, but yeah, we're definitely on the top of that cruel, cold-hearted, just cold-blooded, just scourge of the earth disease. Here's the hardest farm animals to take care of. Guys, we keep getting all kinds of messages on how we got started taking care of animals, and farm animals is a great place to start. You might see a ton of goat farms out there. Just know when they were getting started, several years have been taken off their life from the stress of dealing with unruly goats, okay? The bigger the goat, the bigger the problem. Okay, goats climb everything pretty much just like Spider-Man. No wall is too big. They'll figure out a way to get over it, around it, on top of it. If you want goats, no you don't. You want hair sheep. That way you don't have to deal with the wool. And also they're just like slow, lethargic, easygoing goats. And cows are great until they escape. My great uncle was actually halved by a cow. That's not even a made-up story. He fell down and so many cows stepped on him, it literally severed him in half. This fly is right in my face. Believe it or not, every year in the United States, more people die from cow-related injuries than they do from sharks. Next is pigs. Boars are no joke. They always want to rut and get out. They're always digging. They're always just destroying stuff. Jesus, this fly needs to go away. And it's very hard to keep them contained. Next, we're going to talk about horses. Anybody who owns horses will tell you that horses like to get hurt. Horses like to be sick. They yearn for death. It feels like when you have a horse, it will always feel like something is going on. God dang, are they drama queens? Just get some donkeys. And today's sponsor is Pet Lab Company's Allergy and Immune System Soft Gummy Chew. If they're good enough for a fox, they're good enough for your dog.